everyone, welcome to today's installment of Mike's Vehicle Vlogs. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a month since I've made a vlog, and well, unfortunately today I don't really have anything to do outside car related. The only thing I have to do outside after this is I have to do the yard, which I hate doing. I hate doing yard work, but it's got to be done. I wanted to get a vlog to you guys because, like I said, it's been well over a month, little over a month at this point since I've actually filmed something, and I thought of an interesting topic that I thought I would cover here from the desk, and just kind of share my opinions and you know, just something to talk about. Not exactly sure how long this video is going to be or how short it's going to be, but I actually was watching a video on YouTube last night. In fact, recently I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube over the last couple weeks, you know, that actually involve these quick lane oil change places. And a lot of these videos have to do with the issues that have come after the cars have been to these kinds of you know, places. So let me just start off by saying that I don't necessarily think that a lot of these places are, you know, terrible. There's obviously a lot of good benefits to, you know, going to these kinds of places for your oil change. You know, if you don't have time to wait at, you know, a dealership or even some independent shop, you know, and you just want to be able to drive in and drive out, you know, with like a 10-minute oil change, then so be it. You know, it is convenient in a way, but unfortunately these kinds of places also get a bad rep, and I don't necessarily think it's, you know, the companies or businesses themselves. It always comes down to, in my opinion, the types of people that actually work there. When I was younger, and, you know, before I actually started doing a lot of my own car maintenancing, I used to use these, you know, types of places. You know, I would go to a drive-up Valvoline or a drive-up lube stop, a Take 5, whatever. You know, there's a bunch of them out there that specialize in this kind of stuff, and you know, I would go there and have my oil changed there, and yeah, I mean, it was just really convenient. You don't have to get out of the car, and you're there for like 10 minutes, and then you drive off. You know, and a lot of times you're supposed to leave there with the peace of mind, knowing that, you know, you just had your oil changed, your engine's being taken care of, and yeah, I used to do that. You know, that was that's what I used to do. In fact, you know, all the times that I've done it, I've never had any problems with any of the cars that I've had. And that's good, you know. I think, like I said, a lot of these places have the good intentions of, you know, keeping your cars on the road and such. Unfortunately, it comes down to, I think, people who work there, and I think there are a lot of people who don't either care or pay attention to the kinds of work that they're doing. So I just saw a video, like I said, you know, the other night, where, you know, one of these places, there were actually a couple of stories in this video regarding the same exact place. So that's kind of where it was like a news report that kind of rolled all of these situations into one for their news story. But one person in the story didn't have any oil put back in the car. Another person had an oil filter gasket failure, so they lost all of the oil pretty quickly. And, you know, this can result in catastrophic engine damage in a matter of minutes if it's not, you know, caught. So there are just a lot of key points here to, you know, these kinds of quick lube oil change places. And, you know, the first thing that I'm gonna say about it is, you know, it's gonna come down to the people who work there, you know. And, you know, sadly enough, it doesn't necessarily have to pertain to these oil change places, you know. You can go to, you know, an independent shop, you can go to a dealership, and if you have a person who is specifically doing oil changes and they don't care, you know, it could happen anywhere, and I hate to say that, but it happens, and unfortunately it happens a lot more, I think, with these quick change places, because I think just the fact that the whole, you know, tagline is, you know, like a 10-minute oil change. It's gonna be quick, and it makes everybody rush, you know, which I'm totally not for. You know, if you're working on a car, I kind of get it. There are certain situations where you have to be efficient and you have to get the job done in a timely manner, but rushing is not good when you're doing any kind of repair or service on a vehicle, because if you rush, you can miss something. And I think that happens a lot, you know, with these kinds of places, according to what, you know, you see in these types of news stories. You definitely have to make sure that you have the right kind of people who actually care about the customers, the cars, the type of work that they do. And, you know, it hurts the business when you have people who don't care. You know, they might just be there for a paycheck. Understandable. I've said this before. You know, people do what they do a lot of times because they need an income. And it could be a situation where they just don't care about what they're doing. They are just there for the money, to get what they can, and at the end of the day, they just don't care if they're doing a great job at maintaining your vehicle or not. As much as I hate to say that, a lot of people don't take pride in what they do. But you need to have the right kind of person at these types of places, and hopefully, if you're watching this and you use those types of places, or if you, any kind of person, really, you know, regardless of where you take your car, I always hope that you would get somebody who's servicing your car, who's paying attention. You've got to make sure that, you know, you put in the right kind of oil, you put in the correct amount of oil, you know. And if this person doesn't know what the specs are, I hope that they would have the common sense to look in service data. Hopefully they have access to service data. You want to make sure that you're putting in the right kind of oil. You refer to service data for the right oil capacity, which is very important, especially on today's cars. And you also want to make sure that they are doing the proper checks. They want to make sure that they're not double gasketing oil filters, or making sure that if it's a cartridge filter, they're changing the O-ring around the cap, which is very important. Changing the O-ring will often get overlooked, or they're not tightening the cap properly, or if they put the O-ring on, they're not seating it right, and it's actually in the grooves, the threads of the cap. So when they put the oil filter back on, that gasket is getting tied up in the threads, and it's not going to make it to where it needs to be. So that's another cause for major oil leaks. The drain plug always has to be tight. I mean, these are all important things, and like I said, I think these types of oil change places get bad rep because people who work there, not saying everybody who works there, but you get the bad eggs who just don't care. They're in a rush, or they, like I said, they're just there for a paycheck. They just want to get the job over with. They're not double checking their work or making sure that all of these things are followed. Oil changes, for the most part, are one of the easiest things to do with maintaining your vehicle. And to be quite honest, I highly suggest, if you can physically do it, if you have the proper tools and the knowledge, I mean, I highly recommend everybody do it themselves. But I understand that either a lot of people just don't understand how to do it. A lot of people can't do it. But I mean, it is like I said, one of the easiest things to do with your vehicle, and you could easily, avoid having any kind of issues if you knew how to do it yourself. But not everybody can do it, and that's understandable. So yeah, I mean, if you have to use these places, a lot of times, if you have the right people working there, they're gonna show you, like when I used to go there, they're gonna drain all your oil out. When they fill it up, a lot of times you can see them fill it up. They got they might have the guns, or you're gonna kind of see what they're doing, if you can see through the hood, and that's good. If you can see them do it, that's fine. But the big thing is, a lot of times they're supposed to show you on the dipstick where your oil is. They used to tell me when I would go to the one specifically, they would fill it up. I'd see them fill it up, and then they'd be like, start the engine for a few seconds, let's get the oil circulated, which is proper. They're going to circulate all the oil, shut the engine off, give it a few seconds, then they're going to pull the dipstick out, wipe it off, put it back in properly, and they're going to bring it to you after the second time. They're going to show you on the dipstick that, hey, this is where your oil is at, it's within the perfect safe zone, it's full. That's it. That really should be all that you have to worry about. And in running that engine for a few seconds, your oil pressure light should go off, so you see that you actually have oil pressure, which is good. That means you're not losing major amounts of oil through like a bad oil filter gasket or double gasket situation, or they're gonna know that there's nothing leaking when the engine's running. So like I said, there should be a lot of double checks at these places, and a lot of places I think do it, but you get these ones where they just don't care, and it's really unfortunate. I think another situation too that a lot of these places are known for is major upselling, and some people don't trust the upsell because they think it's just a sales tactic, and it could be, I don't know. But when I try to upsell things, I honestly will not upsell anything at a dealership, from a dealership level anyway, unless I really think that this engine air filter is completely dirty. A lot of times I'll do what's known as the flashlight test, where you'll take your flashlight and shine it through the filter. If you can see through the filter pretty easily with the light, if the light comes through, then I usually won't recommend a filter because it's not dirty enough. But if it gets to the point where there's barely light coming through, or you can just see that it's covered in all dirt and oil and stuff, then that's when I'm gonna throw in a recommendation for like a filter or something. I think some people think that these places do that when services aren't needed, and again, it's very possible that it could just be to meet a quota or something. But if the person knows what they're doing, and if they are experienced enough, they're not just gonna throw parts at you telling you that you need something when you really don't. So I think that's really why a lot of these places unfortunately get such a bad rep. From a dealership level, when I do oil changes, you're not going to get a 10-minute oil change. I have to do a multi-point inspection of the vehicle, of course, and I do all of my inspection stuff, try to do it very thoroughly. You know, I try to look for any major leaks. I'm checking, you know, checking your tires, making sure your tread's okay, making sure your brake pads are wearing even, or, you know, checking suspension parts, making sure you don't have broken stab links or something. You know, once I get through my inspection, you know, then I start the oil change process, and if I have any recommendations, then I send it up to my service advisor. And again, when the oil change is over, and much like what I do here at home, you know, we make sure that we clean as much stuff off as we can. We don't want to leave any kind of residue or residual oil. If you know, taking the filter off makes a mess, we want to make sure that we try to clean all of this stuff up. We want to wipe down any kind of plastic undershield or any frame, anything that oil gets on. We want to make sure that that's taken care of, because I don't want the customer getting to their house and there's still some residual oil hiding somewhere, and the next thing you know, they're bringing it back, or they're giving a phone call and they're like, hey, there's oil in my driveway. Why? You know, it's no big deal. It's just old oil that, you know, didn't get cleaned up. It's very important. You know, got to make sure that, you know, especially with the Hondas and a lot of other import cars, they don't use an actual gasket on the oil fill plug, oil drain plug, I should say. They have a crush ring. Always want to make sure that you remove the old crush ring. If you don't remove the old crush ring, and in fact I had one of these the other day, it was double crushed when it came in, and it was leaking oil for quite some time. Must not have been bad enough for them to lose a whole lot of oil, but the drain plug was not perfectly sealed because somebody did a really weird thing with these gaskets, or these crush rings. So they double crush ringed it, and the one ring was completely bent out of shape. It was terrible, but we have to correct that. You know, we put on remove those old ones, make sure they're always gone, put a nice fresh crush washer on there, torque the drain plug to spec, and it should not be leaking. It's, you know, like, it's very, very important. And you know, I'm somebody who takes a lot of pride in what I do, and even, like I said, the simplest task like an oil change, I want to make sure that this car is not coming back for any type of oil concern. Make sure that these engines are filled up to the proper spec with the proper oil. And aside from that, just making sure that, you know, that engine air filter is still in breathable condition, along with your cabin filter. Your tire pressures are always filled up to the proper door spec, or depending on your temperature, if the car's been, you know, on the road for a long time, I'll keep it just maybe a couple pounds higher, but it's still within that perfect door spec, you know, ratio. Make sure that your brakes aren't down to, you know, the caution zones. Make sure your tires are still roadworthy as far as tread. I mean, there's a lot of things to look at, you know. And I'm not 100% sure if the quick change places go in as far deep into an inspection like you would get at a dealership or even an independent shop setting. But I do know, when, you know, at the dealership, and even, you know, when I worked at the independent shop for a month, and they had their own multi-point type of inspection, you know, it's very thorough. And at least when you take your car to those types of places, like I said, I can't really, I haven't worked at the quick lane place, you know, so I don't know. I can't really speak for how their inspections are usually done. But, you know, if the car is only in there for 10 minutes, I guess what I'm saying is, you know, a lot of things may get overlooked, you know, if they're supposed to be doing any kind of inspection. Whereas when the car is on a lift at the shop, any shop really, and they're doing an inspection, it's less likely that something's going to get missed or overlooked, you know. I don't know. I thought that that was a topic that I figured I would touch on, about these quick change types of places. And again, you know, I'm not knocking these places. I just hope that, you know, there's more people who work at these places that, you know, actually care about what they're doing. It's just like any job, really. You know, if you hire a contractor, a contracting company, and they come out to do work on your house, and you got that one guy who works there with the team, and he's doing, you know, a job that is a lot less professional compared to the rest of the guys working on the job, you know, because he just doesn't really care about what he does or something, you know. It's the same. It can go for any type of job, really. You really have to have somebody who knows what they're doing, who cares about what they're doing, who takes pride in what they're doing. And if you have somebody like that, I strongly believe that the job will be done not only in a timely manner, but the job will be done in a manner of which you won't have any issues afterwards. And that's pretty much what it comes down to with these kinds of quick lane places, or again, you know, really any shop for that matter, as far as doing basic oil change work. I guess that's really it that I've got for today. I don't know what kind of jobs I have for vlogging coming up, you know, in the future. Yeah, I really don't know. I'm not sure what I got coming up. But again, I thought this would be an interesting topic to hit on, since I haven't seen you guys in a month. I figured, why not throw this out there? So, if you guys did enjoy this, give me a thumbs up and comment, subscribe. Let me know if you guys have had any, you know, bad experiences with these, you know, quick lane places. Hopefully you haven't, but you know, like I said, it happens. It happens too often, I feel. But like I said, it's just pretty much comes down to people who have a lack of interest in what they do, or just who knows why it happens exactly. But unfortunately it does. And as far as me, I try my hardest to make sure every car that I touch leaves in better condition than the way it came in to my bay. So that's all I've got for today, guys. I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time. In the meantime, take care.